All right, good morning, and welcome to our Bible class. We are changing direction here for the last three classes. You finished up First and Second Timothy with Scott and Justin, and the next three classes we're doing a prep sessions for the next 3 years. All right, because starting next quarter, we are going to in here in the auditorium class, we're going to combine this with what's been taking place in the foundations class. This is going to become the foundations class, and what that is a 3-year period of going through the entire Bible. All right, and it's the 17 periods. You may have heard us referring to that an awful lot. Some of you are new. But there's 17 periods. We've outlined the Bible in 17 sections, you might say, and that's what will happen over these 3 years. Now, when we started doing this back, man, it's been, how long has it been? 12, 15, maybe 18, almost 2 decades, maybe, that we've been doing this, you want to call it curriculum, or this method. We've been doing that. But I'd like to see a show of hands. Who has actually been through a single 3-year period in 2 decades that we've been doing this? I think it's going to be low. All right. So we thought it was going to be low. The elders decided to do this in here because we kind of figured out that there's a lot of people here, of the adults, that haven't been through this. Now, you take some of the kids who have grown up and are now adults, like Aaron. How many times have you been through it? Probably 4 times, maybe. Yeah. So, honestly, she's going to stand up here and do this whole thing for us. No, we kidding. Honestly, a lot of our kids, a lot of them, if not all of them, know this material very well. And they can spit this off. In fact, what we're going to work on this morning, we'll have kids doing this backwards, what we're going to do forwards. Okay? Now, in saying that, that's not, as we get older, we think, man, I'm too old. I'm done, memorizing and learning. You guys remember Brother Crawley, right? Some of you do. That man, who I had a lot of respect for, he continued memorizing stuff until he passed away, and he was still learning new stuff. So now, is it more difficult? I absolutely think so. I can attest to that just in my situation. But is there anything more important that we can learn? There's not. I mean, just learning this is, and we got to go back to when we started this. And I don't remember the exact chronology of what was decided when, because I was young. I was in my early 20s. Yeah, so it has been 2 decades probably. When Bob Waldron, did this, and he had, there was a prep quarter, kind of like what we're doing here, except we're doing it in 3 classes. He took a whole quarter and did kind of what we're going to go over in a little bit, probably better fashion. But it was then that I realized how good this was and what a good approach it was. And then after going through the 3-year cycles now, more than once, then it's like a light bulb or an aha moment. Because growing up here, and now you guys know me, I grew up here. My life has been here for the most part, here at Eastside. And this is not to say anything derogatory at all about, because I can honestly say it was all about me because I didn't apply myself. But back when growing up, we would have a workbook, and it would be on a certain topic, a book or something, and it'd have lessons. And I can remember Bob made fun, he in a kind of a sad way. You get into class, you'd have this workbook, and first thing us kids would start doing was what? What'd you get? What'd you get for number 5? Because and it was my fault. It was my fault. And you go around the room, which one, and fill in the blanks, and we'd go over that. And it would be over a certain topic, and it would be a Bible study on this particular area of the Bible or subject, and the next quarter maybe this section, and then another section. But in my mind, it never fit together, the whole thing. It wasn't until well later on in life that it occurred to me. This is one story. There was a lot of holes in my understanding, and that's what this whole 3-year cycle is, or 3-year period is, to do that for us and say, you know what? I know the whole story of the Bible. I know the whole plan of God. I understand that. I know it from one end to the other, and that's a huge benefit in our growth and learning. So, and the thing about it is, what we're going to do this morning, it's not just a matter of memorizing these things, okay? It's a matter of learning each one and then linking it to the next one. We're going to talk about that, what links this particular section, and it links to the next one. And then you've got the next period. And then it links to the next one. And you understand, so that, like me, in lists, you're going to hear me bobble these lists. Because just a list going down through them, I do that. I'll mess it up, and you'll realize that very quickly. But the thing about it is, as soon as I get a couple of seconds to think about it, there's the link. I know the link, and then there's the next one. There's the link, and the next one. And it makes it easier. All right? So, let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to cover? All right. Now, this is actually, you might say, a 4 cycles approach to this curriculum or this method that we've been using. The last one, which is the 3-year period, is actually the 4th of 4 cycles. The first 3 cycles are a matter of coming up with an outline and then adding to that outline. Okay, so this morning we're going to do the first cycle. We're going to do, and we're going to learn that. We're going to learn the links between each of the periods, and we're going to memorize that all together. So if you thought you could sleep through this class, we're going to have to do something to get everybody on board. But with the first cycle, that's what learning these 17, a list of 17 things. We're going to learn some links in between them. Then the second cycle takes those 17 periods and it adds really just a little bit of content with them. It'll add, just a little bit more information to each of those periods so that you know this is what happened in this period in Bible history. This is what happened. For example, our first period is before the flood. All right? So before the flood, what chapter does the flood occur in, by the way? All right? Sorry? 6 and 7, right? So in chapter 6, so before the flood, it only covers 5 chapters, right? So you can say before the flood, and it has the story of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, and so forth. Stories that we're all familiar with, creation. So that'll be the second cycle, just adding a little bit of content in there. Pretty simple. Then the third cycle is actually looking in the Bible and really doing what I just described and saying, this is where this occurs in the Bible. And, the first 5 chapters is before the flood. Then the next The flood occurs in chapter 6 and 7. Now, those are pretty, targeted, and, there's going to be some periods that cover books, lots of books. So, and we'll look at those divisions in the third of our 3 classes. So let's get started. All right. So the first 3. All right. Let's go with the first 3. Before the flood, and scattering of the people. Okay. Now, by the way, there's a song that goes with this that everybody knows. And if I need to cheerlead, I'll cheerlead. If I need to be silly, I'll be silly. Anything to help us learn, right? Anything to help us memorize. Now, the kids sing it. Row, row, row your boat. Before the flood, scattering of the people, Exodus, and so on, all right? So we might even do that if y'all really want to. All right. Okay, so the first one is before the flood. You got that one down? I've said it about 8 times already. So before the flood, that was pretty easy. Now, Bob always made a joke, said, well, we got before the flood, what comes next? After the flood. We're done. Yeah, that doesn't work that good. Doesn't work that easy. But before the flood, scattering of the people. After scattering of the people, the patriarchs. Okay? And then wandering in the wilderness. All right? Before the flood, scattering of the people, the patriarchs, the Exodus. I'm sorry, that's right, the Exodus. All right, so let's put them up here, and we're going to say them together. And all right, we're going to start it. All right, so everybody together. And this is just about memorizing. Remember, we're going to put some links from one to the other as we go along. So everybody, before the flood, gathering of the people, patriarchs, the Exodus. All right, so there's 5 of them. Before the flood, gathering of the people, the patriarchs, and the Exodus. All right, now, this section over here. All right, just this section, y'all be quiet. All right, before the flood, all right, I know. I'm a terrible student when it comes to classes because sitting in your spot, I hate doing this kind of thing. Now, getting out in front of you, I don't know what it is, the light bulb, it's a switch or something, and I can be as silly as I need to be when I'm in front of everybody. But sitting there, I don't like doing it. So I understand where you're at. I don't like doing this. But the best way to learn this stuff is to get involved. What is it called? Kinetic learning. Tell me, show me, and then do it. And everybody learns a little bit differently, but you combine those 3 and it's helpful. All right, so this section. I should have turned that off. All right. Y'all just read it. All right, middle section, a little bit tougher. Okay, before the flood, gathering of the people, patriarchs, Exodus. All right, excellent. I tell you what, this side over here is going to have to recruit some people to help you out or something. So, Ian, that's what you got to do. Recruit some people for your side over here. All right, y'all ready? Before the flood, gathering of the people, patriarchs, Exodus. All right. Is anybody ready to do it all backwards now? Okay. Talking about getting people out of their comfort zones. That's what this is all about, isn't it? I don't know that we've ever done anything like this in the auditorium class. But even with teaching the kids and so forth, you have to get them out of their comfort zones, and different things help. They were getting good at it, but sometimes I'd have them all stand up, and actually I had the plan for y'all. If y'all were reluctant I was going to have everybody stand up, turn around in circles, or do something. But everybody's doing good, so I won't make you do that. Yeah. But the kids, I'd have them stand up on one foot, just do anything that would get them going and learning. All right, so we've got them. All right, one more time all together. You ready? Before the flood. All right, there's 5. There's only 17, all right? So you've got close to a third of them. All right. So before the flood scattering of people. Now, what happened before the flood? What's the link going into the flood? Before the flood, everything was great, in the Garden of Eden. Then what happened? They sinned. The people, and they got wicked. Yeah. The people got very wicked, and God decided to destroy them. Well, in the flood. All right? So once the flood happened, it was down to just a family, Noah's family. Now, the 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, they went different directions. Don't worry about where they went or anything. But one of those settled in the plains of Mesopotamia and started growing. All right? Well, but they stayed in that area. God's plan was for them to scatter and populate the earth. Well, scattering of the people. They needed to be scattered. So that took place. Then after scattering of the people, we start seeing some of the individuals, the important individuals, and we find the patriarchs. Who are the patriarchs? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And those are the patriarchs, but we include one more because he is the link into the next one. You can think of who that is, most of everybody. All right? That would be Joseph. He's the link going into Exodus. So then we have the people in bondage, and then they leave Exodus. They go out. So there's the first 5, and there's the links for them. It's pretty easy, right? Everybody's good with those 5? All right. We'll go on to the next ones. All right. So before the flood, scattering of the people, patriarchs, the Exodus, and now our next 5. Wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom. Now that takes us, those first 5 was pretty much Genesis and Exodus, right? Well, this one is going to take us all the way through the divided kingdom, which gets us all the way through the Chronicles, all right? So, wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom. All right. You guys first. All right. So with me. Wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom. So you got the last 2 is pretty easy. United kingdom, divided kingdom. First 3. Wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, and judges. All right. Once again, the middle section does not get to see. Yeah. All right. So, wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, kingdom, divided kingdom. All right. Very good. All right. This section. Wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom. All right. All right, let's do it all together one time. Everybody. Wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom. All right. So, you think we can add all of those together? All right. I'm going to bring it back up. We're going to say them all, and then we'll do it without the slides. All right. So, before the flood, scattering of the people, the patriarchs, the Exodus, wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom. All right, that's 10 of them. All right? So there's only 7 more left. So that's pretty easy, right? Yeah. All right. So let's start from the beginning. Before the flood, scattering of the people, patriarchs, the Exodus, wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom. All right. So we've gone probably halfway at least through the through the through the Bible. All right. So the next thing, the next section. All right. All right. This one we've only got 4 on the slide. All right. So this one will be easy. All right. Now I'll tell you what. Let's go back over. Wandering in the wilderness. What was the link from Exodus going into wandering in the wilderness? Remember, they were in Egypt. They left. They were ready to go into the land, but what? The people were afraid. They didn't trust God, did they? Spies brought back the bad report. God punished them. They had to wander in the wilderness for 40 years until what happened? That generation, 20 and older, died, passed on. And so that leads us to wandering in the wilderness. All right? After wandering in the wilderness, they wandered for 40 years. Then what'd they do? Went up into the land, and God gave it to them. Invaded and conquered the land of Canaan, the promised land. Once they were in the land, and it was divided amongst the tribes, and they were there, they were happy, everything was good. What happened? What happens to us a lot of times when we get complacent? Sin, idolatry, that's right. So they fall, they sin, and God raises up for them judges. Okay? Can you think of what the content might be that we put into judges here? All right, we'll put in Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon. We'll put in all the judges. That's the outline. Pretty easy if you already know the judges. But that'll be it. So God raised them up, and it's a cycle several times in there. They would sin, God would raise up a deliverer to help them, and then it was kind of a cycle there for a period. So following the judges, the people finally got tired, and what'd they want? At the end, they wanted a king. All right, so that's our link into the united kingdom, into Saul, David, and Solomon. You know, there's the outline, there's the content for that one. So we have the period of the united kingdom. Now, it's united because all of the land of Canaan is under each of those kings, for 40 years each. So it's a united kingdom. However, the last king, what happens? Rehoboam, Solomon's son. After that, Rehoboam takes the southern kingdom, and then Jeroboam comes in and he takes the northern kingdom, and he's ruling up there in the north, and Rehoboam's ruling in the south. So we have what? A divided kingdom, right? So we've got, and by the way, the names, the northern kingdom keeps the name Israel. The southern kingdom goes with the name Judah because Judah's the main tribe down there. Okay, so that's the divided kingdom. So those are our links between those. All right, so let's say them all together again. Before the flood, all right, very good. All right, there's our 10, and let's go to the next one. Now, after the kingdom divides, what happens to the kingdom in the north? It goes away. All right? So it leaves the bottom one, which we said was Judah alone. It's the southern kingdom is the only one remaining. Israel in the north goes off. All right? So we have Judah alone. And then after another time period, Judah alone goes away because of their sin. It's because of the sin of the Israel in the north that they go away. Judah in the south remains longer as a kingdom and their kings, but eventually their sin is full and God punishes them and they go off the same way into captivity. So there's our next one. So Judah alone, we've got the united kingdom, it's all in one. Then it divided kingdom. North one goes away, we've got Judah alone by itself, and then it goes away, and we're in full captivity. Okay? And after the captivity, after a time, what happens? They return. There's a return. It's not a big return. Everybody doesn't return. It's a small return. A remnant, God says, returns. So there's a return from captivity. And actually, I didn't put that on there. It needs to be returned from captivity. Do you mind typing that in? Can you type that in? Maybe. All right. So we're saying the same thing. So Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, and then we have the years of silence. Okay. All right. So after the well, let's do those together. I'll let him put it back up there here in a second. All right. Perfect. All right. So all together. We'll do it all together first. Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, years of silence. I didn't finish that. After the return from captivity, there's a prophecy during that time period. It's by Amos. There's a prophecy, and Amos says that there's going to be a long time of no revelation or no word from God. Not going to be any, God's not going to, he's not going to talk to his people. People won't have access to him during this period. And we term it periods of silence. Okay? Because there's no revelation, there's no word from God during this time period. It's prophesied in Amos chapter 8. So that's our link into the next one. All right? So Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, and years of silence. All right. So let's say it all together. Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, years of silence. All right. All right. This side over here. Ready? Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, years of silence. All right? Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, years of silence. Okay? Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, years of silence. All right. Years of silence, which books of the Bible does that cover? There's no revelation from God. There's no information from God. So that's what we call between the testaments a lot of times. So it's a period where we don't have anything, scriptures from God. Now there's some history in there, and when we go into this 3-year period, we talk about some of that history and what we know about what happened during that period. But it's kind of extra biblical in that sense. Okay. All right. So Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, and the years of silence. All right. Let's say all of these together. Okay. All right. Before the flood, scattering of the people, the patriarchs, the Exodus, wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom, Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, years of silence. All right, excellent. Y'all are doing great. Who said y'all couldn't learn? All right. So we're down to, we've got 14 of them. There's only 3 left. And these are easy. It's all what's in the New Testament. Okay? The last 3. And we divide these up into just three sections, 3 periods. And it's the life of Christ, the early church, and letters to the Christians. Okay? Now, from the years of silence, what's our link into the life of Christ? Well, from the years of silence, that silence is broken. It is broken, and just in general, it begins when John the Baptist comes on the scene. And he begins prophesying and teaching and baptizing in the name of Christ. The Messiah comes. So we have the life of Christ. So John the Baptist is our link from the years of silence, when there was no revelation of God, to when he does make an appearance, an angel appears, and John prophesies about Christ. And we have the life of Christ. And here we are at the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and we see the life of Christ and his example and his sacrifice for all of us. Well, at the end of Jesus' life on earth, he's raised back up, he goes back up, and what does he establish? What does he leave for us to help us to know God and to be together and to be a family? Well, the church, right? He establishes the church. And we have, and it's in the book of Acts, the early church. So that's the next one. And then the church, letters go to these churches via, some of the apostles and different ones who are writing letters inspired by the Holy Spirit for us to have and to know. These letters go to these churches and these Christians in cases, and that's our last period, letters to the Christians. That includes all the epistles along with Revelation. Okay? So, all right, all together. Life of Christ, early church, letters to the Christians. All right? What's the one right before life of Christ? Years of silence. So, years of silence, life of Christ, early church, letters to the Christians. Okay? All right, this one's easy. All right, you guys. Life of Christ, early church, letters to the Christians. Life of Christ, early church, letters to the Christians. Life of Christ, early church, letters to the Christians. All right, perfect. All right, we'll put them all together. All right, before the flood, scattering of the people, the patriarchs, the Exodus, wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom, Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, years of silence, life of Christ, early church, letters to the Christians. All right? So if you know the song, you can sing it with me. All right? Because it's catchy, and honestly, when I'm saying it as a list, sometimes I'll stop and I'll have to think about the tune and keep going. So, before the flood, scattering of the people, the patriarchs, the Exodus, wandering in the wilderness, invasion and conquest, judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom, Judah alone, captivity and return, years of silence, life of Christ, early church, letters to the Christians. These are the Bible periods. We always, and that's part of my list too. There's actually 18 periods when I sing it. Okay, so that's it. It's row, row, row your boat. Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with this list? Now, if this is the last time that you think about this until Wednesday, guess what's going to happen? It will disappear completely. Okay. Now, it can come back, fairly quickly when we rehearse it and go over it Wednesday. But here's the thing. Um, um, we've got it all written down for you. We're going to hand it out. You've got it in your mind. You know it. All right? And even when I had it showing up here, some of you were doing exactly what you needed to do and does not look while you're going over this. When you're getting your car, going to work, going to school, think about this. It's in your mind. Now, you'll get stuck on one. Invariably, you'll get stuck on one. Well, we've got the paper for you. Don't read it while you're going down the road. But you can go back and look at it and, fill it in and memorize it. Take it in sections, work on it, and this is a fantastic outline. By the way, there's nothing at all inspired or about this outline. It's just something that was come up with, but it makes a world of difference as you take this outline and by the way, this is just the first step. It just needs to become ingrained in your mind and just know this like the back of your hand. And if you know this very, very well, and over the time, by the way, as we're going through this 3 years, all right, different teachers are going to teach, each period, differently. But we're going to go over this, okay? We will go over this. We'll do it before class and rehearse this. So you've got 3 years to learn this list of 17, but we did it in 35 minutes. All right? All right, so let's say it again one more time together without the slides. So before the flood. All right, excellent. Well, thank y'all very much for playing along with me this morning. So next, when we come back on Wednesday, we'll do this. We'll repeat this, and we'll work on it for a few minutes Wednesday night. So work on it between now and then. We'll work on it Wednesday night a little bit, and we're going to add some content to it. We see briefly just the links between each of these periods, right? But we'll add some more content into it as we go along, okay? I think it went well enough. I don't think I have to do that. Yeah, Brian, you leave it up there. That's fine. I had another exercise planned, but everybody did really well. So a lot of times, just for your information, in teaching this, especially the kids, they like doing this. We'll write them all up on the board, marker board or something in a class, and the kids get a kick out of getting up and down out of their chairs at minimum, during a Bible class. We'll have them all on the board, and we'll let them come up there and erase one of them, and just erase it. And then we all say it together, like we've been doing. And then let another one come up there and erase another one. And, you've gone through it 17 times. Some of it's got to stick, right? And we've gone through it how many times already this morning? We repeated it, I don't know, probably 20 times, 25 times or something this morning together. But anyway, we'll do that through the list. And I'd planned on, if we needed to do that, we'd have the ability to. You've got your sheets, so work on this a little bit before Wednesday and kind of get it good and fresh for Wednesday. And we'll go over it some more and add the second cycle into that material. All right, thank y'all.